And we can get the very latest live with Mark joining us now in the studio. Mark, as we're seeing from your pictures there, flat calm almost, allowing the boats to set sail once again. But the point is, this is coming after the deal was supposed to have been signed with France to prevent this happening, or at least try and intercept some of those boats. Yeah,
this is the first real test of how well that integrated policy is working with the French. And clearly today, half a dozen boats have made it across so far, and in the days ahead, because the weather conditions are expected to be pretty good, we are expecting hundreds, thousands potentially will cross. And it just goes to show really that, you know, the French can do so much on their side, but even if they stop those migrants getting across one day, they turn around, they get a new boat, they come back and they just attempt and continue attempting to cross until they get across.
Yeah, and of course, as you've been explaining, just the length of coastline for them to patrol there. But the political pressure is growing at home now. We've got this letter, 50 MPs, including senior figures, David Davis, even Sir Graham Brady, chairman of the 1922 Backbench Committee, saying we need to change the law. Modern slavery laws, no less, being talked about. I mean, it's quite extreme measures.
Yeah, I mean, they believe that the government's been tying itself in knots with this, particularly over the issue of Albanians. We know that more than 12,000, actually, we were told that about a couple of months ago now, so it will be considerably more than 12,000 Albanians who've crossed the English Channel so far this year. Now, they're crossing from a peaceful country that would not seem to have any legitimate claim to asylum. Individual cases, of course, might be different. But what the MPs are saying is, look, you know, there should be an ability to make a very rapid assessment of the legitimacy of someone's claim and then just get them on the first flight back out there. And those that claim to have been trafficked, which is actually a very significant number of those who are coming across, because they're schooled by the criminal gangs who send them across. This is what you say. You tell them that you're a victim of modern slavery trafficking. Again, on that point, the MPs are saying, well, if that is the case, that they've been taken forcibly from their own towns and homes and sent across the Channel to be modern slaves, then they would welcome a rapid return back to their home, you would think.
Right.
But things are never as easy as that. They're often much more complicated, and there's layers of challenges that can be appealed
so
on behalf of an individual that's come across. When the lawyers get hold of it, it can be stuck in a system for months, sometimes years.
And we've seen the length at times to process the asylum claims, hence the problems at Manston down in Kent. Now, they have cleared that, but the rider is that many of those who've been moved on seem to be, or are suspected to be, suffering from diphtheria, one man having died already.
Well, there was an imperative when there was 4,000 people at Manston, a facility that's only ever supposed to process people for a maximum of 24 hours. Well, many of those 4,000 people were being kept there, Mark, for days, sometimes weeks. That became a crisis in itself, an imperative then on the government to get people out of Manston and into the interim accommodation, such as hotels. The difficulty was people coming over from conditions in living rough in the jungles of Calais and Dunkirk were coming, many of them presenting with diseases or actually not showing that they were symptomatic but carrying diseases. Then they were farmed out to hotels, and we think about at least 50 people with diphtheria have been sent around the country to various hotels.
Right, and we've seen the unease with local authorities about people arriving in these various seaside towns especially and taking over hotels and the demand that's making on local services. And I guess now local health services will be adding to those concerns, wanting to check those people, even though perhaps the diphtheria won't be passed on because we've had a national vaccination programme, of course, to reassure people.
Yeah, in terms of a wider health emergency, you would hope, because as a nation we're pretty well vaccinated from childhood from diphtheria. However, take into account that many people in the UK at the moment will have arrived here in recent years from countries where they probably have not been inoculated against diphtheria. And we're talking millions of individuals. The population of the UK has grown by about 6 million in the last 20 years. So a lot of people that will have come from countries where they maybe didn't get that particular vaccination, so might be vulnerable to diphtheria as well.
Yeah, and of course the health service will still have to deal with all these people. Yeah. Mark, for the moment, thank you very much.